Minister, distinguished members of the dais, distinguished participants, it is indeed for me a big honor to be here with you today, and I would like to very much appreciate and thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity of sharing with you a few minutes about what's being done in Argentina in this regard. I believe that this particular issue or theme of the conference, Building Global Alliances for Ensuring Inclusive, Equitable and Employable Education, Forging International Partnerships, is very much one of the important themes that it's being dealt at the global level. In this regard, Mr. Kumar already mentioned the importance of education and the importance of all the elements that are comprised in this theme in the Agenda for Sustainable Development. If we take the SDGs, the goals that were established by the international community, we find a lot of them that are making a specific relationship to this. In this regard, I believe that the main SDG is number 4, which talks about quality education targets, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. In this regard, Mr. Kumar also made a relationship to what quality in education means in terms of being a multidimensional and evolving concept that be customized to local expectations and needs. As such, there is no point in time when quality can be described as having been achieved. Every time we have to be, it's a concept that evolves and that we have constantly to be adapting it to the needs and the realities of our societies. Also, education is a cross-cutting theme with regards to other SDGs, particularly SDG number 8, which talks about decent work and economic growth, SDG 13, climate action, and SDG 16, in which it especially makes a reference of the potential to reduce inequalities on conditions that inclusion and equity stand at the heart of all policy education. So this is the importance in terms of what at the international level we have been able to achieve. In this regard, and taking into account the importance of education in this moment and the importance of the relationship between education and job creation, it was that Argentina in 2018, as we were the chairmen of we had the chairmanship of the G20, we made of education and job creation one of the main issues of the discussion for the leaders at the highest level. This was something that was done in conjunction with the government of India, because we thought that the new models of production are creating a very unstable situation for the future, in which we don't know really how to adapt this education and quality for jobs that are going to be coming in the next 20 years, and we don't really know what these jobs are. So the ability that we have to have at the time of developing these kind of alliances and the international cooperation in this regard has to be as how we can establish a system of education in which kids have the flexibility of studying and having a scheme in which they even don't know where that scheme is going to be applied, but the flexibility has to be given to them so they can perform in whatever finally the new jobs that are created in the future are going to be there. The problem is that a lot of the jobs that we know nowadays in 20 years may have disappeared. So this is the big challenge of education, and in that regard is why we thought that at the global level, in the G20, it was important to have, first of all, a meeting of ministers of education, which was the first time that it happened, and secondly, we had a joint meeting between ministers of education and ministers of labor, so as to establish that link, that it's really one of the most important concerns that we have to develop in the international arena. Concerning Argentina in particular, I would like to stress that we are a country in the very south end of South America, in which two main things have to be said, I believe. One is that we are the size of India. India being the 7th country in the world, we are largest country, we are the 8th, with a small difference. India has 1,400 million people, we have 45 million. So it's 35 times the population of India than the population that we have. So this makes and gives you the scene in which we develop. In terms of education, our first law of education was established around 150 years ago, and establishes the main concepts of what the actual education in Argentina is being built on. And these are that the education has to be mandatory, the education has to be open, the education has to be secular, and the education has to be free. So all of those concepts were the main core of the education in Argentina for what is government education. Of course, in the side of private education, you can have whatever kind of education, if it's religious or closed or whatever. But in terms of the government education, those are the principles and still there. So this gives you an idea of how people can access education in Argentina, because almost all, being free, can access that. And that also is applicable for all students that come from abroad. And in fact, we have more than 90,000 foreign students, mainly from Latin America, because in this regard, the education of the higher education in Argentina is basically done in Spanish. So if you are able to develop that Spanish, you can go join the university. It's a free university, and you can get your education there. So mostly the 90,000 students that we have comes from Europe or from other countries of the region. In this regard, let me also add that we have been able to develop 39 institutions featuring in the QS Latin America University Rankings in 2018, which gives a good idea of the education in Argentina. In terms of, because time is up, so in terms of the bilateral relationship, let me stress one thing. We don't have a lot of Indian students because this question of language that I mentioned before, but it's really open to all the students in your higher education system to go to Argentina and access all the types of education, being graduate or postgraduate, that they feel like. We are developing with India, particularly now, two centers of excellence that I believe it's a little bit this expression, practical expression on how we think you have to forge these international partnerships. One is a center of education on on IT, in which students from Argentina and from India are going to be trained for the jobs in the IT sector, being the IT sector one of the main sectors in the investments going on both countries. A lot of Indian IT companies are in Argentina. Some of our IT companies are here in India. So they thought that with the creation of this kind of center of excellence, they can train them for the specificities of the jobs of these IT companies, both there and both here. More taking into account the great experience that India has in the field of IT. Also, that applies, we're trying also to establish a center of excellence in cooperation in agricultural technologies in India, so that will be the other side. One is IT and the other one is agriculture, in which we think that there is a great possibility of establishing cooperation between the two countries in order to fulfill, in the case of India, the needs for food security, that is one of the main objectives of the government. So thank you so much. Hope that at least I gave you a small overview of the situation in Argentina. Thank you so much.